Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Hemant Mehta, and in today's session we are going to discuss about the ServletConfig Interface. What is ServletConfig Interface? Basically, ServletConfig Interface provides the configuration information about the servlet. Now, always remember one thing: an object of ServletConfig is created by the web container for each servlet. So if you logically think, the ServletConfig interface provides the configuration about the servlet. So as and when you create the n number of servlets, the n number of ServletConfig objects will be created. In other words, an object of ServletConfig is created by the web container for each servlet. This object can be used to get the configuration information from the web.xml file. Now, what is the purpose of this particular interface? Now, let's say if you are providing the configuration in individual servlet, and later on you are updating your servlet source code. So it is a very hectic task to modify each and every servlet files for the configuration. So rather, we are going to provide the configuration information in the web.xml file. So using a ServletConfig object, you can fetch those configuration information from the web.xml file in your servlet. So it is easy to maintain. If the configuration information is modified from the web.xml file, we do not need to change the servlet. So it is easy to manage the web application if any specific content is modified from time to time. Now, very first thing, how to get the object of the ServletConfig interface. You are having one method, namely getServletConfig. GetServletConfig. This method is available in the servlet interface. This method returns the ServletConfig object. So in this way you can access the object for this interface, and later on you can just call any of the method of this interface. What are the advantages? The core advantages of ServletConfig is that you do not need to edit the servlet file if the information is modified from the web.xml file. Now, how will you provide the servlet configuration in the web.xml file? This is a code snippet. This is a web.xml file, the deployment script file. This is my web app. Now, basically we are providing two things: servlet and the servlet mapping. As this is information about a specific servlet, you can provide configuration information inside the servlet element by using the init param. It is for the initializing parameters. Opening of the init param, closing of the init param elements. Inside that you can provide param name, param value. It is like key value format. Provide the parameter name and the corresponding parameter value. Let's say if you are having more than one initializing parameters, you can have two entries: param name for the first parameter, param value for the first parameter value, param name for the second parameter name, param value for the second parameter value. Likewise, you can provide the configuration for individual servlet. So this is scope for servlet only, so this has to be enclosed inside the servlet. On your screen there are few methods of the ServletConfig interface. First method, getInit parameter. It will accept the one string argument. Basically it is going to return the value for the given parameter name. Let's say in the previous slide I am having a param name that is called parameter underscore name. That is my parameter name, and the corresponding value is parameter underscore value. So whenever I'm going to use getInit parameter, in the string I will pass parameter underscore name as a parameter name, and this method will return parameter underscore value as a specific parameter value corresponding to the given name. Second method, getInit parameter names. This method will give you all the initializing parameter names in the form of the enumeration object. Third method is getServletName. This method will give you the servlet name for which servlet the configuration has been provided. The servlet name will be written from the servlet name element. If you want to use the servlet context object, you can use getServletContext method. Okay, now we are going to see one of the demo program for the same. Okay, I have created one project. In that, on your screen you can see the web.xml file and the project name is ServletConfig Demo. Now as you can see, your web app, that is web.xml file, is consists of the web app. It will have the servlet entry and the entry for the servlet mapping. I have created one servlet, so it will have two elements, servlet name, servlet class. My internal name is example, servlet class is demo underscore servlet config, init param. This is my initializing parameter for this servlet, so it has to be inside the servlet element. Init param, param name, greetings, param value, that is a welcome. So my one initializing parameter is greeting and the corresponding value for the same is welcome. Second, there is a servlet mapping where you are providing servlet name and the URL pattern. Now you are having one more element, that is what's a welcome file list. It is used to load any of the servlet at the startup time. So whatever servlet you want to load very first during the execution or the running of your web application, you can mention inside the welcome file. You have to write down the URL pattern for the corresponding servlet. So whenever I'm going to run this, by default it is going to run demo servlet config URL pattern. So you do not need to write down the same URL pattern in the browser. This is all about the web.xml file. Now this is my Java file. I have created one servlet, demo servlet config, extend the HTTP servlet. Now this is the init method. Inside the init method, I have created one object of the servlet config. I have used this particular code to demonstrate the use of getServletContext method of ServletConfig. Now config is a object of the ServletConfig interface. So object.method name, the config.getServletContext, it will give me the reference of the ServletContext object. ServletContext object count.setAttribute. The attribute name is name and the corresponding value is Heman Mehta. So basically at the context level, I'm going to set one parameter, namely name, and the corresponding value is Heman Mehta. Now coming to the doGet method. This is my code. Now these are command lines for each and every servlet. Once again I'm repeating. A response object, response res, that is a object of the HTTP servlet response interface. response dot res dot set content type. It is going to set the type of the content, what kind of content is going to be displayed during the response. Now if you want to write down any of the content in your response, you need the one virtual workspace that you can avail with the help of getWriter method. It will give you one virtual workspace where you can write down your actual HTML code which will be embedded during the response. So this method getWriter will return the object of the printWriter class. So out, there is object of the printWriter class. Using the out.println, you can write down any of the code on that virtual workspace that will be visible on your browser. Now I have created two variables of type string, greet and the fname. Now we are going to fetch the corresponding initializing parameters. So first of all, we are having one method that is called getServletConfig. This will return the ServletConfig object, as this is a very implicit object and this method is of Servlet interface. So this will return the ServletConfig object. Once you are having a ServletConfig object, you can call any of the method of the ServletConfig interface. So config1 dot get init parameter. Over here we are going to provide the name of the initializing parameters, and we have created one particular parameter, initializing parameters, that is parameter name is greeting and the corresponding value is welcome. So I am going to provide parameter name as a greeting. So get init parameter, I have written the parameter name as a greeting. So get init parameter method will return the welcome as a parameter value, param value. So welcome will be stored in the variable greet. Now get servlet context. This method is going to return the object of the servlet context. We are having one method of the servlet context interface that is called the get attribute. I'm just provide the name of the attribute that is called the name, and I'm going to convert this result into the string. So whatever result will be written, I'm going to store inside the fname. You can decompose the given statement, this line number 35, into the two part. First, get servlet context will give you the object of the servlet context interface. Using this object, you can call the method get attribute, provide the parameter, and it is going to be converted into a string that will be stored into the fname. So line number 35, I have decomposed the line number 35 into two steps, that is available in the line number 36 and the 37. So basically greeting initializing parameter will be available from the web.xml file, and the name parameter value that is available from the context. What is a servlet context? What is a context level? That we will discuss in the next session. So basically it is going to print your greet and the fname value on the browser. So let me execute this particular project. Projects. So this is the output. You can see the URL ServletConfig demo, that is our project, and this is the welcome, this value that is coming from the initializing parameter, namely greeting, and this is the heaven method. This value is of the servlet context attribute, namely name. This is all about the servlet context. Thank you.